The last thing I expected to hear while locking the front door of someone else's cafe was a quiet voice behind me saying, "Come upstairs with me." My heart stopped for a second, not because of romance or temptation, but because I had spent the last 2 years trying to rebuild a marriage that had nearly fallen apart under the weight of long workdays, unpaid bills, and silent misunderstandings. I had only come to help close the cafe because my wife had begged me to lend a hand after her business partner injured her wrist during the busiest week of the year. I never imagined that a simple favor would force me to confront truths about trust, sacrifice, and the hidden struggles of people I barely knew. Before we continue, if you believe kindness, hope, forgiveness, compassion, and second chances still matter in this world, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, leave a thoughtful comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that may need them today. My name is Nathan, and my wife, Rebecca, had spent 5 years building a small coffee shop in Portland, Oregon, together with her longtime friend and business partner, Grace. Their cafe wasn't the kind of place that appeared in travel magazines. It was modest, filled with mismatched chairs, handwritten chalkboard menus, and customers who knew every employee by name. Rebecca handled recipes and customer relationships while Grace managed the accounts and suppliers. I worked as a maintenance supervisor for a local apartment complex, often leaving before sunrise and returning long after dinner. Although I wasn't officially involved in the business, I repaired broken equipment, painted walls, and assembled furniture whenever they needed help. Business had become difficult after a large coffee chain opened only a few blocks away. Sales dropped, expenses increased, and every conversation at home seemed to revolve around invoices, payroll, and overdue deliveries. Rebecca carried the stress quietly, pretending everything would work out, but I could see exhaustion replacing the joyful woman I had married. Grace carried the burden differently. She stayed longer, worked harder, and smiled less each passing month. One rainy Friday evening, Rebecca called to tell me that Grace had slipped while unloading supplies and strained her wrist. She asked if I could help close the cafe because she was stuck attending a supplier meeting across town. I agreed without hesitation. The evening was uneventful. I wiped tables, cleaned the espresso machine, counted chairs, and locked away the pastries that would be donated the next morning. Grace insisted she was fine despite obvious pain, thanking me repeatedly for helping with tasks she normally handled herself. When everything downstairs was finally finished, the building fell strangely quiet. As I reached for the keys, Grace softly asked me to come upstairs. For a brief second, confusion filled my mind. The request sounded mysterious, yet her tired expression carried none of the emotions my imagination tried to invent. I followed her to a small office above the cafe where shelves overflowed with paperwork and faded family photographs. She carefully opened an old storage cabinet and placed several folders on the desk. Inside were unpaid invoices, personal loan statements, and letters from the bank that Rebecca had never shown me. Grace admitted she had been secretly using her own savings to keep the cafe alive because she couldn't bear watching Rebecca lose the dream she had built from nothing. She confessed that she had invited me upstairs because she believed I deserved to know the truth before the financial pressure destroyed my marriage completely. She wasn't asking for money or sympathy. She simply wanted honesty to replace the silence that had been growing between my wife and me. Driving home that night, I felt a mixture of sadness and gratitude. Rebecca hadn't hidden the truth because she didn't trust me. She had hidden it because she loved me enough to carry the burden alone. When we finally sat together at our kitchen table, there were tears, long pauses, and difficult conversations neither of us had been brave enough to begin. For the first time in months, we stopped pretending everything was fine. Instead of blaming one another, we started planning together. Over the following weeks, our entire community unexpectedly became part of the solution. Local musicians volunteered to perform on weekends. Nearby artists displayed their work on the cafe walls. Families organized neighborhood breakfasts, and loyal customers encouraged friends to visit instead of choosing larger chains. I spent evenings repairing furniture instead of worrying in silence. Rebecca discovered that asking for help wasn't a sign of failure. Grace recovered slowly and returned to work, relieved that she no longer carried the secret alone. The cafe never became famous, but it became something far more meaningful. It became a place where people remembered that businesses are built by human beings with dreams, fears, and families waiting at home. Our marriage grew stronger not because life became easier, but because honesty replaced fear and partnership replaced pride. Looking back, I realized Grace's unexpected invitation upstairs had never been about creating a scandal. It was about saving friendships, protecting a family, and reminding us that truth, even when painful, can become the first step toward healing. Before we reach the end, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever discovered that an act you misunderstood was actually motivated by kindness? Share your experience in the comments because your story might encourage someone else who is facing a difficult season. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that trust grows through honesty and compassion, please like the video, leave a comment, share it with someone who believes in second chances, and subscribe for more uplifting stories. Sometimes the smallest acts of courage don't happen in crowded rooms. They happen in quiet places, where one honest conversation changes the course of many lives, proving that hope often arrives when people choose truth over fear and kindness over assumption.